Hi, welcome back to Prosper's Academy. Today we'll be looking at how to create a simple slideshow on your website using three images. Okay, so it's often called carousel. So how do you create carousel when you are coding? Um, this video will be a bit long, so bear with me. All right, so let's kick off. The first thing we need to always do when you are designing a website is to always create your building block, which is your HTML structure first. Okay, before you move over to your styling, then to your scripting. All right. So we'll begin with our structure. All right. So let's rename this title to be to be working with carousel. Okay, working with carousel. All right. So let's see what we can do. First and foremost, let's start with a div. Now this div will be a wrapper. Okay, this div will be a wrapper called slideshow. Remember to always use names that are synonymous with the function you are trying to create or effect. So I will call it slideshow container. All right. Now we should have another smaller div. Now what is this div doing? This div is simply wrapping each of the. Remember we are using three images. You can have more than three images. So it's wrapping each of the images, okay, and the text that accompanies them. All right, so I will call this one a class, give it a class. Then I will give it a div. I'll save my slides. Then you should have a fade because we don't have a fade effect on each of them. All right. So now this will be a div, all right, for the text. Okay, first text, second text, third text. So I'm going to call this one div class. I'll call this div class. Can give it any name, right? Yes, you can say number text. We'll call this 1/3, 1/3, because we are having three images. We are having three images. So here we'll import our image. So we'll say image source. Okay, image. So we'll use let's say pix1. The alt. Remember your alt is a text that displays when there is an issue with your network connection. So we have alt. Let's call it picture1. All right, so we have picture one. Then because we want it to fill up the whole screen, we'll give it a style width of 100%. Okay, 100%. All right, so we should have a div class for our caption. So we can call this we can caption this text. So let's give it a class text. So we'll call it class text. Okay, so we can give it any name. Let's say a beautiful picture. Okay, so this is our first text. So we are through with our first segment. Remember, we are having three images. Okay, so that's the first one. So we'll go back to the second one, then we'll go back to the third one. So I could just copy and paste. All right, I could just copy and paste to make things easier for me. Okay, then I'll just change the images there. So I'll just copy 2, 3. All right, so I'll change this to be 2/3. Then this should be 3/3. All right, so I could change this to pix2. Then I have this to be pix3. All right, so now this image I'm having here is the name of the folder. So you must have a folder for your image in your root folder. Okay, you must have a name for your folder in your root folder. All right, so we can also change the text. We can turn it in text, a nice looking picture. Um, this could be picture is beautiful. All right, picture is beautiful. Okay, so we have this already. So the next thing we will do now, okay, is to create is to create the anchor elements, the holders, the controls, okay, on both the left and the right. So we'll come down here, we'll use our anchor element. All right, so this will have a class. This will have a class we can remove we can remove the href. Then we'll use a class priv. All these we will style later on. Okay, we will style them. All right, so it's going to have an on-click event. All right, so we'll call it plus slides. So we have an on-click event plus slides -1, and it's going to have HTML character one zero zero nine four. Okay, so I'll just copy this, then I'll paste here. So this should be next. This should be next. Okay, this should be next. Then this should be 1 because it's going back and forth. So we'll change this to 10095. All right. So, and then lastly, we will create the tiny dots that will be as the controls. That will be the control for each of these items. So we'll have a div. Okay. So we can give it a style, text align, center. All right. Then we'll span it to have a class dots. Okay, then we should give it an on-click event. Current slide 1. Current slide 1. Okay, so we'll just copy and paste. Two, three. 2, 3. All right, so let's check what we have on our browser. Now let's see what we have done. Okay, we can see that our slides are displaying, our image is showing. Okay, you can see the image is showing. Yes, our images are showing. The second one is the third one. Now, you of course you know why it's showing this big, because we gave it 100%. All right, so that's the idea. Good. So we are on track. So next thing we'll do now is to go and add our styling to our CSS. Okay, so go to our CSS and add styling. Okay, so now when styling your CSS, the first thing first you should do is to select all. Okay, so select, that's asterisk means, this asterisk means select all the documents. All right, and apply this styling to it. So we are saying the box sizing should be border box, so we are putting everything in a border box. All right, then we can start styling our classes. Now if you watch now, The class we have here, the first one here was a slideshow container. So we would call that class. Okay, remember when calling a class, you use what? Dots. You use dots to call a class. All right, so we say slideshow container. Okay, then we'll give it a max width. Let's give it a max width of 1000 px. All right, 1000 px. Okay, so we can give it a position. Okay, a position of relative. All right, so if you don't understand what position, relative, and absolute mean, you can go back to my CSS class and watch what they mean. All right, so we have margin. So the margin should be auto. It means the browser should adjust it based on its discretion. All right, so we have finished styling this. Let's look at the next styling we're going to have now. We're going to style the slides. Okay, so we'll start the slides. So let's start the slides. Let's say my slides, or yes, my slides. This is my slides here. So we have my slides. Okay, so my slides should have what? A display none. Okay, should have a display none because we are hiding it at first. All right, so then we have that. Then we'll also go ahead and style the prev and next icons. The prev and next icons. Okay, so to achieve that, we'll simply just come down here. All right, so we say dot prev, comma, dot next. Now, command here is a kind of selector for selecting multiple elements. Okay, it's used to select multiple elements. So that's why we're using comma there. All right, so we use that. So we're applying this same styling or properties to both the prev and the next element. All right, classes. Sorry. So we'll come down here. We'll say cursor prev next. So then we'll now go over and say position. We're going to position this now absolute. Okay, we're going to position this absolute because the parent element, which is the container, it has been positioned what? Relative. All right, so we have to position this absolute. All right, so remember, for you to position an element absolute, the parent element must be positioned what? Relative. Okay, so that is that for absolute. Then we cannot give it a positioning value of top. So let's say top would be 50%. All right, 50%. Then width would be, let's give it a width of auto. Now we are saying top because that's the distance from the top browser, all right, to the point where it will start displaying. Okay, so we're going to give it a padding. Okay, a padding of 16 px. A padding of 16 px. All right, so we'll give it a padding of 16 px. Then we'll also give it a margin top. All right, because we want to move a distance away from. All right, so 22 px. Then let's give it a color white. Okay, so we're giving it a color white. All right, so it will be visible. Then we'll give it a font weight of bold. of bold. All right. Then we'll give it a font size. A font size. A font size of 18 px. 18 px. Then we would want to add a transition effect to it. All right, of about 0.6 seconds. Okay, with ease. Then we also want to add a border radius. All these are optional. It's not a must. You must follow this pattern. Okay, of course, you should know how to do your normal CSS styling to suit your taste. But all this is just to make it a bit more flexible. All right, 3px. All right, so 0. Then we'll give it a user select of none. All right, so that's that for that. So we can now go ahead and preview. Let's see what we have. Let's see what we have. Um, let's see what we have. Okay, although it might not look good, but let's see what we have first, so we can know how to proceed in the styling. So in browser. All right. Okay. Remember, we displayed everything what none before. That's why you're seeing it's blank. All right. So let's go ahead. Let's go ahead. So we have everything intact. Let's go ahead and continue our styling. Let's style. Let's style the dot next. Okay. Now, why are we styling this dot next separately? Because we want to position the dot next button to the right. So we'll give it a right. We'll give it a right of 0px. Okay. Then we'll give it a border radius of 3px. Okay. 0, 0, then maybe 3px again. So that's our border radius. All right. So that's how to position the button to the right of the carousel. All right. So now that we have that, let's see how we can add a little effect, hover effect on the next and previous buttons. Okay, it's very so that when you hover on it, you will know that you are currently on those buttons. So it creates a nice user experience effect. Okay, so let's do the preview first. Column hover, hover. All right. So we are hovering on this. Then we are applying the same effects. So we'll just use the separator selector. All right. So we use them hover, okay, on both. Then we'll give it a background color of RGBA function, RGB function of 0% red, 0% green, 0% blue, then 0.8 transparency. All right. Then with this, we can now go ahead and create the text class. Now, if you go back to our styling, you see the text here, class, well, that is holding the caption. All right. So we'll style the caption with text. So we can give it a color. Remember, you can always give it any color of your choice. All right, so we're going to use let's use F2, F2, F2. Then let's call this. Let's give it a font size of our choice of, let's say, 15px. Remember, you can always use you can always use any of your choice. All right, so we're going to use our padding. Okay, padding of 8px. Okay, 8px, then 12px. Remember, if you go to my classes, my previous classes, you see when I said padding, padding 8px, 8px means top and bottom, while 12 is left and right. Okay, so we have positioning, position. Let's give it absolute. All right. Then we have bottom. We'll give it 8px. Then we'll give it a width. We'll give it a width 100%. All right. Give it a 100%. Then we'll give it a text align. So it's aligned at the center of it all. Okay. Then we'll go back to our next styling, which is this number text. That is this text here. All right. So we'll give it style number text. Okay. Number text. So also give this one a color. Give it a color of let's use F2, white. All right. So let's use a font size of 12px. Okay, let's use a padding of 8px. Then you have 12px. Okay, then we can also go over to our positioning. So we have to position it actually. So we'll position it absolute. Okay, absolute. Then we'll give it a top property of 0. Okay, so that's that. Then now let's check what else have we not styled. Let's see what else we've not styled. Okay, good. The dots. So let's start the dots. That is these controls. Okay, for each of those items. So style. We'll style each of those dots. So say dots. We'll give it. Let's give it a cursor. This cursor have different values, but you can play around them and check which one it's better. So we have the height. Okay, height of 15px, 15px, 15px. Then we have the width of 15px too. All right, 15px. Then we'll give it a margin. We'll give it a margin of 0. We'll give it a margin of 0 and 2px. Okay, so we have that. Then we can give it a background color. A background color. What kind of color should we give it now? So let's look at it. Which color do you think is better? Let's give it ash maybe and see a gray color. Let's see what we have. Then we have a border radius. A border radius. Let's make it 50%, which is round in nature. Then we'll give it a display inline block. Okay. Remember, we have different displays. So inline block converts it to horizontal, okay, from vertical. So let's add a transition effect to it, okay. Then for the background color, so that as it's changing, the colors are changing too, okay. It will be 0.6 seconds. That's the property we are adding background color to, and it should be ease, okay. Then let's add one more class to it. Let's add dot active. Then we'll say dot dots hover. So what is this one doing here? It's simply telling us the active class, the active element that is being displayed. All right. So this will help you to know, oh, this image is currently on display. Oh, this image is currently on display. Do you get? Yes. So that's how it works. All right. Then we'll now move over to our fade. Move over to our fade. Let's see how we can fade. So let's see how we can fade each of them. These are transition effects that we can always add to it. So add fade. All right. So we have animation, name, fade, animation, duration, 1.5 seconds. Then we have keyframes. Okay. Keyframes fade. All right. Keyframes fade. Now that fade is referring to this name, animation name that was given. So you can't use your keyframe without having a name. All right. So these are things you must have learned in animation class on CSS. Okay. So we have from, where we are animating to, from opacity. Okay. Opacity 0.4 to opacity 1. Okay. Then finally, let's see what we can do with our small sizes, the different screens. So let's make it use of our screen sizes. So we say media query. So we say add media only. Okay. Media only screen. All right. Media only screen. All right. So that it should display in these screen sizes accurately. Okay. Max width. Let's give it a max width. Let's give it a max width of let's say 300 px. Okay. So that it displays very well. Okay. So what are we calling here? Oh yes, pref dot next and dot text classes. They should all have a font size of 11 px. A font size of 11 px. All right, so that's perfect. Have a font size of 11 px. So that's that for our styling. Let's see what we have. Let's see what we have. Good. You can see the three dots are here. These are our hover effects on it. Okay, there's our hover effect on it. So let's see. Now we want to add our JavaScript function that will display the images at the same time that would make us slide from one image to another. Okay, so let's add our slides to them. Okay, so we'll begin with our slides. So we say our script. Okay, let's say let's slide index is assigned 1. Now your let is used to um your let is used to define a variable. All right, so show slides. Okay, show slides, then where we have slide index. Okay, that's a function we just called. All right, so call another function plus slide. If you remember, we had that before. So we say plus slide. It has an argument of n. Okay, that's the number of times where it will be called. So we have show slides. All right, show slides. Then we say slide index plus equals to n. All right, then we can go ahead and say function. So let's give it a function. Let's call it current slide. Okay, it's another function n current slide. Then we have this. Then we say show slides. Okay, show slides. Then we have slide text. Slide index is assigned n. All right, so then we'll have another function. Remember, we have the various functions. So call the function here slide show slide n. Okay, so we say let I So that I there is undefined. So say let slides is assigned documents dot get element by class name. Now we won't be using ID, we're using our class name. What class are we calling now? We are calling my slides. Okay, we are calling my slides. That's the class name. Then we'll also say let's dots. This for the dots classes. Do documents dot get element by class name again. Okay, dots. All right, dots. Now, since we have this already, we can now go ahead and say if n, okay, if n is greater than slides dot length, okay, if n is greater than slides dot length, what should happen? We should say slide index should be equal to 1. Slide index should be equal to 1. Then we'll also have another if statement again. And say if n is less than 1, okay, so we have slide index is equal to slide dot length, okay, slide dot length. All right, so then we'll say for I, we have to loop. Okay, we have to loop through. For I is equal to 0, it assigns 0. So for I condition statement less than slides dot length, okay, then we have I increase I, which is the increment, okay, which is the increment. So we have slides index I dot style dot display, so we should display it what none. Then we'll repeat the same thing too for dots. So for I is assigned 0 as initialized as 0, so it has a condition statement of I less than dots dot length, okay, then if it's true, increment I, okay, then we'll have a dots index I dot class name, all right, will be assigned dots I dot class name dot replace. So this is an array. We'll have replace it to be active. Okay. So we have that. So we have this to be slide. Slide index -1 dot style dot display is assigned block. Okay, it's assigned block. Then of course we will now have it to be dots dot slide index -1 dot class name is assigned active. Okay, so let's go and check what we have. Let's see what we have done so far. Okay, you can see our controls. These are dots. Okay, you can see it has moved to the next image. You can see that it's working fine. Go to the first one. We can also use our controls on left and right. All right, you can see everything is working fine. Remember, we changed the container wrapper. That's why you see there's a space here. So you can see our text here. You can do it with that text if you want to. Okay, we'll just put that for emphasis reasons. All right, so you see everything is working fine. The picture, I give credit to Unsplash. The link is on the description box below, where you can get the pictures and download them for use. All right, so everything is working fine. All right, so please, it's a long code that we've written, and you can take your time to go through them again. Before taking this class, you must have gone through JavaScript classes, tutorials, to know what each of these items mean, so you don't get confused in the line of coding. All right, but these are step-by-step procedure on how to create a slideshow using JavaScript, CSS, and HTML. If you have any question, please leave it on the comment section below. Don't forget to please like and subscribe to my channel. See you in my next class. Bye bye.